Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where everything is positive, daring, different. And today we travel to the world's greatest places as picked by Time magazine. To our fantastic partners, Skills for Inclusive Growth in Australian Aid, Srilanka Life, CDB, The Daily Morning, and Made by Her. Thank you. If you like Kaleidoscope, subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
You can now start a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit and experience a range of special benefits from CDB.
Looking back at the week that was on CDB Snapshot, and we begin with good news. Sri Lanka got a yes for the much-awaited IMF bailout package of $3 billion with the first tranche out this week. And Sri Lankans are happier in 2023 than in 2022, jumping 15 places in the World Happiness Report. But over 1.1 million Sri Lankans leave the country in 2022, with only 27.6% leaving for employment and the balance migrating. Over 910,000 passports were issued last year. The UK government launches the new Developing Countries Trading Scheme, a definite boost for Sri Lankan exports to retain a foothold in the UK. More than 250 female athletes arrive in Sri Lanka for the Raid Amazons Adventure event in Kandy. And Switzerland names a high-tech train after global music icon Shania Twain, calling it the Shania Train.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. With the IMF EFF arrangement now a reality, the rupee is enjoying some good times, but it's also rather volatile. The 11% appreciation driven by a number of factors over the last 2 weeks also saw the rupee's volatility go up to being only the second to the Pakistani rupee. Director Head of Markets and Country Treasurer of Citi, Sanit Gamage, was in the studio with me for some clarity. Sanit, the rupee has been doing a bit of a seesaw in the last few weeks. What are we seeing right now?
So one thing is especially the IMF discussions that are happening after China giving their financing assurances. Also, it was sentiment driven where we saw some banks shortening their positions, and plus we saw some investor flows coming into the country for treasury bills. We saw around $75 million coming into the country. Plus we have seen positive remittances inflow to the country and improvement in the tourism sector. So all these factors aggregated together for the currency to appreciate. And on top of that, we saw exporters panicking and selling their dollars. About $500 million came into the market. So the stabilization point came in when central bank started buying dollars. Actually, they had to stabilize the economy because you can't allow just the currency to appreciate.
So, Sanit, the rupee being this volatile is not good for us, really. How are we going to manage it?
Yeah, so we have to get some of our basics right. So, consistent of our policies is a must. We can't just be inconsistent with our policies. That's one. The second one is to meet those IMF parameters, we have to go and do SOE reforms, broadening tax bases and so forth. Then the debt restructuring is another key aspect. People will be looking at how the debt restructuring is going to happen, right? How it's going to impact our banking sector and so forth. Then the other one is we have to be very mindful what's happening around the world now. There is a banking crisis which is happening around the world. So then the risk appetite comes down. So then how are we going to borrow the much needed cash to fund our current account deficit? So those are the things that we need to look into, and government needs to have a proper plan, a cash flow plan. If we have these things in order, I think we can conquer all these obstacles.
And in our market news this week, the stock market failed to show sentiment even with the IMF bailout package coming through. The all share price index remained virtually unchanged this week, and the average daily turnover still struggled to move above 2 billion rupees. After dropping to a 15-month low, WTI oil prices climbed back to 69.50 US dollars a barrel as the rescue of Credit Suisse allayed concerns of a banking crisis. And gold prices edged higher to 1,945 US dollars per ounce as the US dollar eased and investors kept a close watch on the US Federal Reserve's interest rates and policy. There is a global banking crisis, with a number of banks going under, being rescued or being acquired. A group of central banks are boosting the movement of US dollars through the global financial system to support businesses and also the world's major economies. Who better to find out what's happening other than veteran banker Priya Natikala, who was the CEO of American Express Bank, Saudi Arabia, for 16 years and is now the advisor to the chairman and board of the bank. You know, the global banking industry is seeing some very difficult times. What are we looking at right now?
I think this time around, it is not the same as what we saw before. It is just some of these banks have had an asset liability mismatch, and that has caused this problem, especially with Silicon Valley Bank. And therefore, you can see that the regulators have intervened at once, and there are people who are willing, banks who are willing to come in. So I think it's not going to be a contagion issue for now, but definitely regulators are going to step in and try to strengthen these banks and also ask all the banks to do internal stress tests more stringently.
How is this going to impact the global banking industry?
I think in the short form, we are going to see stock markets going down, which we have seen. But what I'm going to see is that there's going to be a lot more regulations introduced and banks are going to be more stringently monitored, and they're going to be a lot more careful. So there are going to be some changes made internally, who are going to join boards of banks, who are going to be approved to join bank committees. They're going to look at more expertise into banks, joining banks. So that's also going to add cost to the banks. So there'll be so banks will be impacted going forward, the way they manage it and the way they're going to deal with various issues internally.
Going green is an understatement on St. Patrick's Day. From 1962, the Chicago River has been dyed completely green with a dye boat releasing completely safe vegetable dyes to make it completely green.
Immerse yourself in gourmet luxury. Park Street Gourmet is your single stop for gastronomic indulgence. Visit us any day of the week for some decadent shopping.
It's International Women's Month, and while we celebrate the strides women have made in gaining equality, we also discuss issues women continue to face at work and at home. Today, we focus on a true role model for women. Disna Ranjani is a woman with a disability, and she is an entrepreneur. Born paralyzed in one leg and enduring derogatory name-calling, Disna was abjectly poor. To eke out a living, she began cleaning eagles and selling those to lorries that came around the village to collect them. But because she was both a woman and one with a disability, the buyers cheated her and didn't give her the promised price. Not to be discouraged, she took an eagle broom apart and self-learned the craft. Today, she rides a motorcycle, she drives a vehicle, is educating her children, and has purchased machines for production. She has an entire community supplying eagles for her business. She is the recipient of the Lak Rakia Harasara Award. She is from Buttala, and we are having her on S4IG Let's Talk, and I had a chat with her on Zoom. Disna, it's not been an easy life for you, but you're a true hero. What inspired you to start this business?
My husband was a security guard, and earning just 15,000 rupees a month. This was just not enough for us to live on. Because there were plenty of equals in our area, I decided to use that as a base to start my business. It wasn't easy because it is very hard work and my hands bled, but I persisted. I first sold 5 brooms to 5 neighbors at a lower price than the shop, but when they bought it, they also humiliated and insulted me because of my disability. They laughed at me and called me names, but that only gave me more courage. I thought to myself that I would overcome all these challenges one day.
And how did you learn the craft?
I really had no idea. I just took a broom apart and made one. There was an organization that offered to train my husband because they thought I couldn't do the work because of my disability. I wasn't going to let my disability stand in my way. I was determined to learn and made 10 equal brooms on the first day. I deliver equal brooms to almost the entirety of Munragala district, and I have about 25 teams supplying my raw material.
So how has your business panned out?
My children are getting a good education and we are comfortably off. But I also want to bring in good practices into the community. We had a lot of dengue in our area because people used to dump cans and tins. Now I get the community to collect those and give it to me, which I use as the equal holder in the broom. That's another set of people in the community who earn an income because of my business, and the bonus is that our area has no dengue and no garbage and cans strewn around. There are about 200 families living in our area, but I am the only woman owning a business and making a living from it.
What do you want people to know about women with disabilities?
I made my disability an accessory, not a source of shame. They don't refer to me as a cripple or nondikakula anymore. They call me the lady who makes brooms.
What have you learned from your struggles?
I have learned there is nothing a woman cannot achieve. We have strong personalities and must never let the label of being a woman slow us down. These distinctions don't matter. What matters is our strength. I don't take any handouts from the government because I don't need it. Wherever I go now, I am accepted with dignity and grace. I am not in debt to my country in any way. Instead, I am contributing to its development. My disability is visible, but there are many women who have invisible disabilities. That's why we must all show our strength because that's what matters.
So what's your advice to others like you?
Don't let anyone talk down to you or belittle you because truly they are the disabled persons, not you. Don't chase after charity and sympathy. Keep your dignity. Don't ask others to shape your life. You shape yours, get your goals, and make the journey yourself. It is you who has the power to do that.
Listener, you're a true hero. Thank you for joining us on S4IG Let's Talk. With my back to the world, that is what we are exploring today at the Saskia Fernando Gallery. Celebrating International Women's Month, we have 12 amazing contemporary female artists, each of whom have their own individuality, individual persona, and of course their own ideal of drawing the viewer into the very heart and soul of their work. Mariam Begum and Ashini Nanekara curated the works of the female artists, and I'm here for a quick chat at the Saskia Fernando Gallery.
Looking for different artists at different stages of their career, but who also had, who showcase their talent through different disciplines. Like we have in the first room a young artist called Sabine Omar, who's showing in Sri Lanka for the first time, and she works with embroidery and beadwork. And then we have Hansika Herath, who works with woodcuts, which has got a really huge response as well. A lot of people love her work. So I guess that has been the most exciting, is to bring younger artists into the space.
So what we tried doing in this exhibition is showcase the range that these artists are bringing in their practice, also in their process, the way they're using their material and their mediums. And when we actually brought them all together, it was quite exciting to see the meshwork and the interconnectedness in their work. It almost creates a conversation with each of these pieces.
We'll catch you next week.